feeling that you were not expecting to see my face pop up in your subscription box. I have been away. If you're interested at all in my personal life, you can check out my vlog channel or my main channel. I have mentioned everything going on over there, so we don't need to get into it here. I know what you're here for. You're here for some American Horror Story discussion. I thought, what better way to make a comeback again on this channel? I feel like I've done it a million times, but you know my flow. But what is my necklace doing? You know my flow at this point. We're coming back with weekly American Horror Story videos. I know you're skeptical, but I did it really well with Coven, I feel. I think I did. I don't really remember. This is also going to be my first impressions of the season as a whole, like all the advertisements they've been putting out, things like that, as well as episode 1 that just aired last night. So firstly, there were rumors that this season of American Horror Story it was going to be called Elections instead of Cults. And then they came out with the word cult, and I was relieved because honestly, I've had a lot of election going on, which it deserves discussion for sure, and awareness and everything like that. But I just didn't want it to be too political in American Horror Story, and unfortunately that's exactly where it went. When Cult came out, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's something that they haven't done before. It'll be cool to see if it's like an election type cult, like if it's, they're following Trump or Hillary or whatever, and that's the cult idea, like cult mentality, or if it's something completely different, which I believe it to be a combination of something completely different and Trump followers, but I'll get into that in my theories. But the first thing I really want to touch on when it comes to the teasers and the show itself, we're going to talk about trypophobia. I have slight trypophobia, okay? So mine's not extreme, it's not like what is portrayed on the show, and it's not a very serious, it's not debilitating for me, but I can remember really far back in time where I would have this disgust with holes. And like I would look at leaves as a child, I remember, and it would be like missing, it would just be the skeleton of the leaf, you know what I'm talking about? The reason why I have an issue with them using it in American Horror Story isn't because necessarily the mental illness route, which again I will touch on also, but it's mostly because this show is supposed to be scary, it's supposed to be fearful. Granted, it has its gross and disturbing moments that aren't necessarily scary, but are disturbing and get to the viewer. It can be serious for some people, and like for me, a lot of the advertisements, I can't look at some of them. There's one specifically with a tongue. That's all I need to say. No, I'm not. And so what bothers me about the show itself, the episode 1 premiere, was there weren't warnings. So it would come at me, and I even debated before seeing the first episode. I was like, I don't know if I should watch this season at all, which I watch every single season. Even though I've hated the show pretty much since Coven, I still watch every season, every episode. But this is the first time where I was like, I don't know if I can, because they're using something that I don't think is necessary. Granted, it hasn't been done before, so it's very original, but it just, I don't get it. I don't get the horror element of trypophobia or holes. It's just a gross thing. It's just like a disgust reaction. It's not a I'm terrified reaction. Like I said, I get it. It's disturbing, and it's really bad for a lot of people. But there's no warning. There's a scene in the first episode where she gets a platter put in front of her. When she picks it up, there are holes and they bleed. And it's extra bad when things come out of the holes. Nope. So for me, that was really jarring and made me so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, okay, we're going there. And I just wish they would give us a warning. Granted, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a sensitive thing. I just don't get it. I don't get the trypophobia thing, and I wish they weren't doing it. Like, it's original, I can appreciate it, but as someone who hates holes, I'm not a fan of this aspect of the show because I don't know what I'm gonna see. So obviously in the first episode there are unnecessary sex scenes of clowns. I have never been a fan of the sexual stuff in American Horror Story. I think it's so gratuitous and not needed. Sometimes it's okay. Hotel was probably the worst for me, like the worst. I'm not like a prude. Like I'm fine with nudity and like sex scenes and whatever. I don't care. When it comes to like a horror TV show, it feels weird to me. So beyond the major like key points of what the season is based around, background. It begins with Trump becoming elected president, which, you know, we had to relive all of that. And then we see a woman who has multiple phobias, and that kind of triggers all her phobias to come back into play, even though she's been making progress on them. She has trypophobia, chlorophobia, I think that's how you say it. It's the fear of clowns, and I believe agoraphobia or claustrophobia, one of those two. So we are introduced to her character, her wife, and their child, and then we have the Trump supporter being portrayed by Evan Peters, which is being portrayed as a guy who's a super anarchist and cult leader from what I can tell. And then Billie Lourd from Scream Queens, if you guys remember that show, also produced by Ryan Murphy. She's in this season of American Horror Story, and she plays, I don't know if she's like a sister to him or follower, I don't really know, but there's like this intense scene where they're like locked pinkies and they're like, he's asking her all these questions. I have seen some theories floating around that it will be kind of representative of the Manson murders. So that's going to be interesting to see. Beyond that, I'm very disappointed in this episode and so far the storylines, because everything is so overdone. First of all, Billie Lourd plays an evil babysitter, which how many times have we seen that? I just recently, kind of recently watched Emily, an amazing film, super disturbing. Honestly, she reminds me of that girl in the movie, so that wasn't that exciting for me. It gets kind of old, not gonna lie. The home invaders gets really old, especially when they have masks on. Granted, the masks were amazing. They were really creepy. I loved them. Honestly, there's so many like Halloween tutorial potential there. But given that they were clowns being home invaders, that sounds a little familiar to me. I don't know. And the advertisements from the start have kind of like Purge vibes to me. It's like The Purge meets Houses October Built. That's what it reminds me of. Now, as far as the mental illness for horror purposes, I feel like it's okay so far. It's not bad in my opinion. I feel like it's accurate representation. However, I was very confused when Sarah Paulson's character started to hallucinate, because just because you have phobias, which is an anxiety disorder, doesn't make you hallucinate. So I feel like there's something else going on. But then you find out the clowns that she's hallucinating are actually real. So then you're like, oh, she's not hallucinating. But when she looked at the platter and had the crumpet with the holes in it bleeding, that was obviously hallucination, because they showed it later and it wasn't like that. I mean, they didn't show it, but the girl picked it up and she's like, what? So I feel like there's still a hallucination plot there that I don't really understand. I hope that they explain that a little bit better. So far, not a huge fan of this season. I don't really like the concept. I think my favorite storyline, although it's redundant, is Evan Peters and Billie Lourd's storyline, because I'm still kind of confused on what it's actually going to be. I'm really interested in the cult aspect of it, less so the election and Sarah Paulson's storyline. Although the phobias are interesting, I'd rather not see them personally. Although the clowns are pretty good, I will say. I was a little nervous because like everyone's done clowns. Clowns are just like the thing again. If you guys remember back in the day, there was like a whole clown thing. So we'll see if that comes back. But with it coming out this week, I mean, we're just all in the clowns again. I don't personally have a fear of clowns. I do find it interesting, but they're not scary to me in the slightest. So for me, as a horror element, it's not that great. But the masks, like I said, are done really well, and I think they're really cool and original. That's basically all my first impressions and thoughts on episode 1 of American Horror Story Cults. Let me know your thoughts down below, what you think about it. I feel like American Horror Story is just the audience is filled with very opinionated people, and it's either you love it or you hate it. I feel like there's not a lot of people in between, except for like me, who like to talk about it online, where we watch every single episode, even though it's not the best show anymore. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below, and I'll be doing videos like this every single week on every single Wednesday until the season ends. So look forward to that, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.